It only takes one thing to win, and that one thing is never giving up. As long as you keep pushing forward, it is physically impossible to lose. It is literally impossible. If you do not keep going, you cannot lose. And I know you've heard that a million times. And I know you're listening to me right now thinking, oh, well, that really tells me nothing. I can be told that I just have to never quit over and over, but what do I do? How do I never quit? What are the things I need to be doing each and every day? What are the actions that I can actually take that are going to actually allow me to never quit? And the thing is that nobody ever tells you those. Nobody ever tells you those. All they tell you is just to keep going and keep going. Oh yeah, you're doing good, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep pushing forward. They don't actually ever give you the actionable steps that you need to move forward. And with as many actionable steps as I have actually given on my channel, there's one that really does stand out that you actually need to implement into your life right now to actually make all the other steps work. And that's that you just need to go ghost. You just need to block everybody out of your life and kind of simply just stop talking to people. Stop talking to all your friends. Stop talking to all these mutuals. Stop talking to all your hoes. Just kind of put it all on hold, put it all off to the side. And spend a little bit more time in your own mind, trying to figure out who you are and where you want to be in life. Figuring out what are you doing right now and the steps that you are taking right now that are fucking up your life. That are causing you to not be in the position that you want to be in right now. Because no matter what it is, you're obviously in some sort of position that you are not happy with. That doesn't have to mean that you're extremely depressed or, about to go off the edge, trying to prevent yourself from going 10 feet under. But that could also mean that as well. And I've been there in the past. I've been in both spots. And it's always good to take in new information and to learn new things. But all these people that you're going out with and spending time with just really aren't teaching you all those new things that you need to learn. Going out and partying and getting drunk every night is not teaching you anything. I don't care how much you say that, oh, I'm networking. Oh, I'm meeting new people. Yeah, you're meeting new people. Great. You're networking great with the wrong kind of people. You're not networking with anybody that's going to do anything for your life. If you actually maybe go to the gym and maybe network at the gym, talk to some of the people there, you're going to meet somebody. And you're going to meet somebody that could probably really change something for you. But networking at the bar or at the club, dude, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be stuck in this death spiral of nothingness and of doing the same hedonistic action over and over and over. And then you wake up each day wondering why you hate your life. Like, oh, well, why does everything suck? Why do I have such strong anhedonia? Why can't I feel anything? Why do I scroll through my music playlist for hours and not know what song to pick? And then when you do pick a song, you're like, and you can't actually listen to it. Because you've been doing all this bullshit and frying your damn dopamine receptors. You're not actually absorbing any important information. You're just absorbing a bunch of bullshit. I know for a fact the music thing probably really hit home with you, because that's exactly how it was for me. Scrolling through 1,000,001 songs, trying to pick the right one, not knowing which song to pick, because you feel like they're all the wrong song, And you'll scroll past a song that, might have been your favorite song. You're like, oh, that's a great song. I don't want to listen to it. But then you go and still find a song. You're like, oh, this will do for now. Listen to it. You're not even listening to it. You're just kind of like driving, going somewhere with it playing in the background. You just kind of be like, And if you would just turn it off and actually like be in silence in your thoughts, you would really make a change. You'd really start thinking about things. You'd actually start to upregulate those dopamine receptors and kind of reset your brain. Not kind of, but like actually. But you won't. You're just going to keep on burning them out. Keep on downregulating those receptors till you don't feel anything else. And then you wonder why over and over that life just kind of feels so plain. It's like that feeling of when you were in high school and you were looking forward for so long. Oh, I can't wait to get out and can't wait to do this and that. And then you got out and it's like, oh man, life kind of sucks. It's kind of boring. You hear your parents talking about all the time how they're like, oh, you're going to miss your high school days and this and that. And it's like, I know I used to hear that all the time, not specifically from my parents, but like from all kinds of people. And I used to always tell everyone, I was like, I really don't think I will. I was like, there was nothing for me in high school to do. I wasn't able to grow in high school. Like, I'm sure, like, okay, yes, I could have, but like, I couldn't grow there nearly as much as I could outside. And I didn't understand exactly how that would happen. I just knew that would happen in some point. And I've learned that through doing hard things and through life throwing shit at you, that's how you learn. But regardless, my point is, it still stands true that I don't miss those days. But a lot of people do. And if you do miss those days, it's not that you actually miss those high school days. Is this thing on? Yeah. It's not that you actually miss those high school days. It's that you miss the feeling that you had back then. And that feeling you had back then was a little bit more of peace, and it was a little bit more directional. You actually felt like you were, even if you didn't feel like you were moving somewhere, you still did, because you felt better, obviously. And you felt like you had something, even if you didn't feel like you were moving somewhere, and you really didn't, you at least had something to do each and every day, and you knew that, okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and I'm at least going to have things to do. Even if they were things you didn't want to do, you had things to do. And that just kind of kept you moving forward. And even like, even though you'd be waiting for the weekend each weekend to either relax or whatever it was, once again, you still had things to do. And then kind of life went away, school went away and life hit. And then, things kind of were cool for a little bit, and then you started to get a little numb and a little more bored. And you tried to do all these different things to fulfill you, and all these little actions just never seem to stick through. You keep on going through with all these bars and clubs and hoes and whatever it is you're doing, and it's not bringing you any joy in life. And you're like, oh man, my parents were right, those good old days back in high school. No, they weren't right. They were just, they were in the way that they made it sound, but they weren't right in the sense that they just went through the same thing you went through. But they didn't understand it. They didn't understand that the reason those high school days felt so good is because they had so much direction in life. Even though it didn't seem like it, they did. Even though it was a false sense of direction that wasn't really there, it looked like there was direction. And since it looked like there was direction, they felt like they were moving forward somewhere, and it just felt really good. And as soon as they got out and then life hit, they got a job, they had kids, they still had direction in life, but it all just got really real. And they had so many of these new responsibilities, and they really had no more hope or ambition because they were kind of doing things for a different reason now. And on top of that, they had no hope and ambition because they were just following the things that their parents said to do, which was the same thing, get a job, do this, do that after school. And their parents were also telling them, oh, you're going to miss your high school days and all this other shit. And it kind of just goes back from generations. And now that's stuck with us today. And each generation as it's gone by, we seem to understand it less and less. Therefore, the pain gets amplified more and more. And then now, 2 or 3 generations back, they understood this core concept of the reason that they felt a little hopeless after whatever it was, whatever high school was back then, was because they kind of lost a sense of direction. And then they got one when they got out again, so they maybe felt a little better. But as time has gone on, as the world has evolved, as things have changed, you guys have all lost your direction. And so had I. I was all depressed going through high school and hated it and couldn't wait to get out. But I had no direction in high school. And as soon as I got out, I had an idea of who I wanted to be, but I still didn't have a whole lot of direction. So, I was glad to be out of there, but I still had this impeding sense of hopelessness and just not really understanding what life is all about and all that stuff. Like, I got the consensus of it, but I didn't quite understand, the depths and shit like that. And so I ended up, picking up habits and doing all kinds of different things to try to fulfill me, doing different things to try to better myself, and all, X, Y, and Z. And some things I started to realize among the lines is like, now I didn't realize this till a whole lot later, but, I started doing things that would improve myself and improve, self-improvement things that would improve my day-to-day life. And I figured, okay, well, in life, you're supposed to better yourself. That's how you become more happy. I'm going to go and do that. So that's what I did. I started, I hopped on self-improvement outside high school, tried to start bettering myself. And then I kind of, I would add on one habit and I'd be like, oh, wow, this shit's great. I'd be happy about something. And even if that was a habit of just making sure I got my oil change done on time or, taking better care of hygiene and shit like that, simple stuff. It felt great. And then I add on another thing. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I add on more stuff, more good habits. And then all of a sudden it was like I started to kind of lose direction again because I felt like I had no more time because I was stacking on all these good habits and all these personal development shit that I kind of just started feeling lost again. And I was like, well, fuck, I'm doing all the right things. I'm supposed to be, taking better care of myself, eating better. I'm supposed to be taking up on my car's maintenance. I'm supposed to be going to the gym. Why am I not feeling better? I was feeling better for a little bit. Now I'm actually feeling worse than I was before. And then you start to get that, it's this kind of systemic load or where you start to slow down. You feel like your body's dragging through the days and you're like, can't do this, can't do that. You feel tired. You start hating everything that you enjoyed. Anhedonia kicks back in. You're like, you know what? Fuck this. This gym stuff's not for me. This personal development shit's not for me. I'm done with it all. I'm just going to go back to enjoying life and having fun. Life's about being happy and having fun, right? So that's what I would think, and that's what I would do. I would go back to trying to enjoy life and doing all this anhedonian shit. And I go back to just sleeping whenever I want, eating whatever I felt like, eating as much food as I wanted to and not eating at all when I didn't. I mean, the whole 9 yards, you know? And then I'd start to, you know, and then things would feel good again because I'm getting all this dopamine. And then I'd revert, you know, I'd start to feel again like, oh shit, you know, I kind of feel like shit again. Maybe I'll hop back on that self-improvement shit that I was doing before. I felt a little bit good in the beginning. So then you kind of hop back on it and try it out again. Got to defrost this windshield. All right, so yeah, then you hop back on it. You hop back on the personal development stuff for the second time, third time. You're like, oh, I'm starting to feel good again, you know? And then you start adding on all the good habits, and then after you add on so many good habits, you start to kind of feel like shit again, and you regress again. And it's kind of like almost this, it's kind of this cycle of regressing so that you can have progress again. And regressing so that, yeah, you can feel good again and you know, for a short period of time. But all that is just a cycle that breaks you down more and more and more, because each time you feel worse and worse. It seems fine in the beginning, but you just build up this negative reinforcement. And there were some really simple core concepts that if I would have understood, it would have changed so much in my life. And I wouldn't have had to deal with all this bullshit. If someone would have just told me this, I would have been like, oh, fuck, okay, well, I see what my problem is. But no one was there to tell me that. So, and even if someone was there to tell me, they probably didn't speak it right. They probably didn't portray it right. They probably didn't give me a good enough example. So I never absorbed the information. But looking back on it, I can't really think of a time where anybody had ever actually had this conversation with me. So what I do, exactly what you could guess, I'd go back into the bullshit lifestyle, doing whatever I want, fucking taking drugs, doing whatever the shit I wanted. And I'd be like, oh, you know, life's pretty good. I'm enjoying myself again. And then I'd start feeling good for a while. And then I'd start to feel like shit again. And I'm like, fuck, dude. You know, you're numbing yourself and everything, and then you feel great for a little bit, and you regress right back. And it's just, oh, dude, it's this painful cycle. Oh, it's like you're in a pinball machine, just getting beaten around side to side, and life's toying at you like a cat fucking slaps at a mouse, and you just feel like shit about it, and it beats you down, makes you not want to continue to try to progress, makes you not even want to try anything. So you're like, what's the point of this, dude? I don't want to keep on trying and then feeling like shit and wasting my time, because you're like, well, if I try again and things get better and then they get worse, that's going to hurt me even more each time. And, you know, you start to feel the fear of the regression. You start to fear hopping back on the train of personal development because you fear things getting worse. But they don't have to get worse. The only reason they are actually getting worse, as I was saying before, that one reason is because as you're adding on all these good habits, you're not getting rid of the bad habits. You're adding on all these good things, but you're not getting rid of the bad things. You know, I'd be adding on all these good things, taking better care of my hygiene, you know, cleaning up the car better, eating better, doing my maintenance on the car. I'd be working harder, have more money, be putting more mods on my car, going to the gym more, training harder. And that's all great. That's like a recipe for success. But then, you know, you can think of it like I don't eat cake, but well, example, you know, I'll go with making a cake. You got all these things to bake this perfect cake. And then you go and you You're still not sleeping. Still going out, doing whatever the fuck you want on the weekends. Still staying up late on the weekdays. Still occasionally eating like shit. You know, you're eating some healthy things, so you felt like you were being healthy, but you really weren't. You were still going out to McDonald's every other night or every 3 nights and getting a bunch of McDonald's. You were still having really good weeks and then ruining it all with one really bad day. You were still popping pills all day. All this shit. And all those bad habits were like you have this perfect cake or this perfect muffin that you're about to throw in the oven. Then you just threw a bunch of shit in it. And then baked it. And then when you tried it, you're like, God, this thing tastes like shit. Like, yeah, no fucking shit. It looked great on the outside. You couldn't tell it had fucking horse shit in it. But as soon as you tried it, you could. And the time that cake is baking, you know, while, you know, you might smell a little bit of that shit in the oven, but you also smell the aroma of all the other shit in there and the aroma of your air fresheners and all this other stuff. So it looks good. It appears good. You check on it. It looks all nice and pretty in the oven. But then as soon as you pull it out and take a bite, you're like, oh, god damn. Same thing with life. You were doing all these good habits, doing all this stuff to make your life better, but then you still were doing all these bad habits, and you still had all these vices, and you were still screwing yourself over with them. And then all that time where you thought things were getting better, like while that cake was baking, they really weren't. It was really shit just in disguise, just like high school. It was really just shit in disguise. And therefore, you know, you're like, fuck, well, you feel like every time, you know, and you feel like every time you try to hop on that personal development shit, it kind of fucks up your life more. Because like every time you try to bake a cake, you throw shit in it at the end, and you're wondering why it tastes like shit. Dude, simple math. Take the shit out, it'll taste great. It'll be great. It'll look great. It'll smell great. But if you leave it in there, it's not going to work out. It's never going to work out. It was never going to work out. You were never going to get anywhere with it. And until I understood that I actually had to get rid of the bad habits for the good ones to actually have their effect, dude, game changer. It's like, why would you take your car, fully built motor, why would you take your car? You know, this is a great example because I drive a Subaru, so I always get all that damn head gasket jokes. Say I've got a Subaru, which mine never blew a head gasket, but say it does have a blown head gasket. And I know it's got a blown head gasket. And I go and, you know, I go detail the car, make it look all pretty, change the oil, put a big turbo on it, put some new injectors. Then I start it up and I drive it and it runs like shit and overheats. I'm like, fuck, why is it overheating? Because the fucking head gasket's bad, and I knew the head gasket was bad, but I didn't want to change it. You know, I was never going to be able to get it tuned because the head gasket was blown. It was never going to be fast because the head gasket was blown. But I kept on telling myself, oh no, it's going to be fine. It doesn't need a head gasket. Dude, it's like you doing that. Why are you still indulging in all these bad habits if you're really trying to better your life and implement these good habits? You're shooting yourself in the foot over and over and over. And the easiest, simplest, fastest way to do that is to cut everybody out. is to just stop all the bullshit. Stop doing all the shit you don't need to do. Stop staying up late, fucking on the hub, wanking it, eating like shit, scrolling on TikTok. Dude, you just gotta stop doing all the bullshit and just make it better. You're never gonna actually, these good habits are never gonna actually do the good thing they're supposed to be doing if you're still ripping up all the bad ones. It's never gonna work out. But if you just simply cut out all the bad habits, boom, it works. Just like that. And then it's like, and then you've literally got this overnight success. It's just like how in life, it feels, you see on social media, you see all these people that post all these reels and it seems like they got overnight success. It's because they didn't post all the times they were baking the cake with the shit. They never posted all the times they were trying to beat on the car and tune the car with a blown head gasket. All they did is they showed that right as they started it with the good head gasket. Right as they made that cake, that muffin without the shit in it. That's what they show. And it looked great. But they went through all this pain and struggle to learn that you can't leave the shit in. You can't drive the car with the broken parts. It does not work. And they learned that and they progressed. But if they kept on distracting themselves, they were never going to do that. So they had to go ghost. They had to cut everything out. They had to go into monk mode to actually push it forward and actually make it work out. And if you do that, then it is lightning times easier to never give up. It's impossible to never lose. It's impossible to lose. If you never quit, you cannot lose. You literally can't lose if you never quit. And if you implement monk mode, if you go ghost, you stop trying to drive the car with the blown head gasket, it's actually going to work. You're actually going to be able to do it. It's really not that difficult. Why would you continue wasting time trying to figure out why the car won't run with a blown head gasket? You know the car won't run with a blown head gasket. You might not know all the intricate details of how the engine works and why a blown head gasket doesn't allow the car to run. You might not understand that if water gets on the spark plug, it's not going to detonate. But you don't have to know that. It's great to know, but you don't need to know that. All you need to know is that blown head gasket, car will not run. And if it does, it will not run right. And it will break down. It will overheat and it will cause more damage. Just like when you do these bad habits, it causes more damage. Over and over and over. And until you cut it all out, as soon as you cut it all out, that's where the change begins to happen. That's where you actually start to make that big change and things actually start to work out. But people won't do that. And I'm not going to say that people are just, I'm not going to say that you're just too lazy to not do that. Because, it's literally more difficult to keep on going down that same negative path of failing over and over and over. It is literally more work to suffer each and every single day. So I guess you're not lazy. You can't be. I must be the lazy one. Because if I wake up every single day early, every single day I take a cold shower, if every single day I do my push-ups, and I just do it because I know that makes life better, and that's the stuff that makes life actually easier, then I must be the lazy one because I'm taking the easy route. And you must be the hard-working one because you're just laying back every single morning. The alarm's going off. Snooze, 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 snooze. You're doing that every single day, making it more difficult on yourself, enduring more pain, making the struggle even harder. Which road do you want to take? Do you want to continue hitting the snooze button? Continue dragging your ass through life? Continue trying to drive the car with a blown head gasket? Or do you actually want to wake up in the morning and actually be appreciative for where you're going? Actually be appreciative for life. Actually appreciate all the good and the bad things that happen in life. If you don't appreciate the good and the bad, what are you doing? What are you doing, bro? You're doing the same thing over and over again. You're just implementing the bad habits with the good habits and expecting the result. You can't get the result with it unless you do that. Unless you take out the bad habits and only implement the good ones, you're not going to get the result. And of course it takes time. Of course it does. But if you start now, you're going to be there a whole lot sooner. If you start cutting out those bad habits now, you're going to get there a whole lot sooner. I'm sure you're listening to this and you've already got all those good habits in. And if you don't, okay, well, you can start implementing them. You already know the good ones that you need to implement. But no matter where it is, no matter if you're making $100 a day, $50 a day, $1,000 a day, $10,000 a day, there are always bad habits that can go away, that you can cut out. And there's always a way to make life better, to get more in touch with yourself. It doesn't matter where you are. So why haven't you started? Why haven't you pushed harder? Why aren't you pushing harder? It's pretty simple. I've broken it down to very simple steps. You can do it, dude. All you got to do is cut the bad shit out. How do you cut the bad shit out? Disappear for a little bit. Stop talking to them. People are going to talk shit on you. They're going to go and check in. Oh, I'm so worried about him. He doesn't want to talk to anyone. They're going to start calling you weird. Start calling you an asshole, dickhead, narcissist. Dude, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You know why? Because as soon as you come out the other side of that dark tunnel, they're going to be like, yo, how'd you do that? Take me with. And they just want you to take them without them going through the hard work. And you're like, no, dude, you got to figure it out. Like, oh, see, he changed. He's a fucking asshole. Now he's telling me to figure it out. Yeah, because you had to figure it out, and you learned that figuring it out is the way that you learn and is the way that you get through the other side of the tunnel. Learning is the way to get to the other side of the tunnel. You learn as you get through. And by learning, that's why you get through. It's not all these little magic things and magic tips that are in the tunnel that you collect like tokens. They get you through the tunnel. It's the lessons you learn as you go through it. It's the going through of the tunnel that allows you to get to the other side. It's not just from one side to the other. You have to go through to get to the other side. So make the change.